would request you all to please take your seats. He's been the English head of the Department of English in the University of Kolkata, and also the Director of Publications, Embassy of France and India in New Delhi, the recipient of several prestigious awards, and now I shall stop only to hear them speak. Let the conversations begin at the breakfast table.
So we start. Malavika, with your kind permission. It's a beautiful venue, so much green and so much peace, an abode of peace, an island of peace, which I love very much. I'm sure you too. You can hear birds, bird song. It's beautiful. Now, we have with us Defne Suman, who is a Turkish novelist, one of the greatest in the world now, and quite well known. And we are very happy to have her here. We are familiar with certain names in this part of the world. All of us know Nazim Hikmat. Yeah. Yeah. You can speak directly.
I can speak directly?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the best name to know
from
Turkish literature, and I'm very glad you referred to Nazım Hikmet.
Millions of people here are familiar with Nazim Hikmat through the translations of Subhash Mukhopadhyay, Nazim Hikmater Kobita. And there's a wonderful recitation by Utpal Dotto. You can hear it online. It's beautiful. So Nazim Hikmat shook our skeletons in the 16th and 70s. And I think he passed away in 1962. And there are others we also know, like Ahmet Hamdi Tanpınar, yes, and Orhan Veli Canik. And we are familiar with Pamuk, of course, Orhan Pamuk. And we also know the films of Guney, which surprised us at one time. So we welcome here our friend Defne Suman, author of several novels, not only At the Breakfast Table, but other novels like Summer Heat. And she's also tried her hand in English directly, The Silence of Scheherazade in English in 1921. So her debut novel in English. And very interesting things to say about her before we start. We shall start by hearing the sound of Turkish. To quote Roland Barthes, le bruissement de la langue, le bruissement, the rustle of the language in the here. Even if we don't understand, the rustle creates waves. We're all looking for waves. So here we are. Before I start, just to say that she was born in Istanbul and she was brought up in Bucada, and studied at Bosphorus University, sociology, and then went over to Thailand and Laos, and then went to Oregon, USA, and now stays in Athens. So look at the connectivity. Huh? We need to stretch out. She's here. And thanks to Kolkata Literary Meet, the main theme is dialogue from the beginning. In a world which is crumbling, beams are falling apart, we are becoming islands in a globalized age. Very ironically, we need to stretch out, and the stretching out is best represented through the numerous conversations arranged here over the last few years. And this is a continuation of that, I would say, vibration. Now, before we begin, we'll just listen to the noise, the rustle, le bruissement de la langue.
Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. I'm going to read a little piece from my book, At the Breakfast Table.
What is the title in Turkish?
Same, The Breakfast Table.
Breakfast Table.
In Turkish. And I have to say this book will soon be available in Bangla language, in Bengali language. And the name will be Alone in the Island in your language.
That's a change.
Yes, every country has their own name. Every language comes up with
We'll talk about translation later on, this problem.
Yes, okay. So I'm going to read in Turkish, just a little piece. Bayan Şirin'in lakırdısı henüz bitmişti ki duvarda dağların ardında patlayan bombaların alevi yükseldi. Bacağı kopan askerlerin feryadını işittim. Hanımım hem söylüyor hem çiziyordu. Veyahut hiç anlatmıyor, safi çiziyordu da ben hikayeyi işitiyordum. Deniz kenarındaki büyük şehir düşmanın eline geçmiş. Ancak yenilgi değil, delikanlıların hürriyet emelleri için bir adımmış bu. Sultanın hakimiyetinden çıktık bile demişler, bayram etmişler. Fakat kısa zamanda fena havadisler gelmeye başlamış. Sultanın askerleri halen kendi ellerinde olan bölgedeki köyleri boşaltıyorlarmış. Emir böyle gelmiş. Düşmana hizmet eden halklar evlerinden çıkacakmış.
I'm just reading the English translation by our translator, Betsy Goxel.
Betsy Göksel.
Betsy Goxel. Her name should also be pronounced here, because she is the cultural mediator. Remember that. I wrote once upon a time a text called No One in the Mirror, the translator. He is never remembered, but we do. Betsy Goxel. I'm reading the translation. Madame Shireen had scarcely finished her words when, from the mountains on the wall, flames burst from an exploding bomb. I heard the screams of soldiers whose legs had been blown off. My lady was both drawing and talking, or perhaps she was not speaking, only drawing, and I was hearing the story. The large city by the sea fell into the enemy hands. And this was not a defeat, but a positive stride forward for the young men and their struggle for freedom. We are finally liberated from the rule of the Sultan, they said. They celebrated. However, in a short while, bad news began to arrive. The Sultan's army was emptying all the villages in the areas that were still under their rule. The order had come that those villagers who had served the enemy would be evicted from their homes. I continue for a while. Right above the beautiful city on the sea, on the right side of the mountain she had painted first, she drew half-naked children fallen in the snow. A line of people with bowed heads was marching, and at each end of the line there were armed guards, gendarmes. My mind went to the dream I had had. I saw my dear Mama. She had hidden in the crypt of a church. A gang of bad men were playing football with the dead priest's head. See, history comes alive. That's very important. We know how important Turkey is. We know that she now stays in Athens, and you know the connection between the two. We know the importance of Turkey in the Renaissance. The fall of Constantinople had really helped the flowering of the Renaissance in Italy. Now, to come back, in a time when the world is going to pieces, as you have become islands, as I said just now, and it's a hyper-real world of images, we need to introspect. And this connectivity I was talking about is very important. So you were brought up in, you were born in Istanbul.
Yes.
And
correct.
then you went to Bukhara? Then you went to Bukhara?
Büyükada. Büyükada is an island a little bit outside of Istanbul. You can go there in half an hour by boat. And that's where my grandfather had a house. And where he grew up, actually. And my mother grew up there. So the book, At the Breakfast Table, is taking place in Büyükada. It's taking place in a matter of 2 days with 4 narrators. 4 people are telling the same 2 days.
Yes.
And it begins with the disappearance of one family member. So everybody's trying to figure out where did he go in the matter of these 2 days. And at the end, he comes back with a story. So it's my most autobiographical novel in a way, because it's taking place where I grew up, and we had a normal house, but the island had a lot of like fascinating houses with giant gardens, and they had like high walls. And all my childhood, I kept wondering what's behind these walls, what kind of a life these rich people are living, and what kind of tables they must have with big families. So it's kind of a response to my childhood dream, like you go inside those high walls and be in the homes of the rich people and sit on the breakfast table with them, and that's how this book came about.
Yes. And what was your first experience with books?
My first experience books,
At what
actually,
age?
again, back to Büyükada, back to the island that I'm talking about, where this book is taking place. And we had a very small bookstore, only bookstore in the island, and it was a Greek bookstore, because when I was a child, we still had a small Greek community living in Istanbul. Now, today, it's almost nothing. But he had his name was Hrisafi. Hrisafi had a bookstore, and I went there every day to check the new children's books. And I was an only child. I was, like my parents were working, so I had a lot of alone time on my own, and I enjoyed it. And of course, books became my best friends. So I was I always, when I came here, I always travel with a bunch of books with me to accompany me.
At what age exactly?
What's that?
Approximately at what age? How old were you?
I don't know. When I started reading, I think the first time I was able to finish a book without any drawings and anything, I was 8.5. It was about the book, the twins changing places, and one goes to the father, one goes to the mother. I was very touched to figure out the plot before the story takes us to the end of the plot. And that was, one of the pleasures of reading. As a reader, you figure out the plot, and then the story unfolds, and you realize, okay, I found it before. So that pleasure, I remember I was 8 years old and reading my first book without pictures. So, and then after that, it was an ongoing love affair.
Did you notice the word expression, pleasure of the text? Le plaisir du texte, hein? Roland Barthes. Now, and your first experience of writing, when did you decide to sort of put pen to paper and create a space?
This is a difficult question, and I keep asking, like, I don't want to come up with a story, which is not true, because the mind tends to make up stories. I definitely did never want to be a writer. That's when my mother's friends saw me writing, and they said, "Oh dear, are you going to be an author?" And I was like, "No, of course not. Like, this is something I do. I want to do something more exciting." So I resisted for a long time and tried to do some other things. But at the end, whatever is your karma comes to you. So I found myself not, because I always wrote, always, since age 8, 9, I had a diary, I was writing, and then I was writing essays, and I was writing for myself, then I was writing letters. So writing was part of my existence. But publishing it, like when I was being introduced as also a yoga teacher or a yoga student, the courage came to me only after I started becoming a yoga student. Then I found the courage to say, okay, I'm going to put my writings out there.
When did you go to
Thailand?
Thailand?
Yes, it's funny, but I started yoga in Thailand.
But before that, you studied sociology in...
I was I studied sociology. I did my Masters of Arts in Sociology, and then
Bosphorus University.
Bosphorus University. It's the top university. It's an old American university. But then I was like, okay, oops, what am I going to do after this? I didn't have a plan for the rest of the time. So I started traveling. I went to Thailand, and then I started yoga, and then I started opening myself to the reader first time through internet, through blogs. And then the blogs became extremely popular. A Turkish, somebody writing in Turkish, a Turkish woman traveling the world was immediately by the Turkish audience. It was attractive. And then a publisher approached me, so the writing found me. But I don't think I became a writer. I was writing, and I'm still writing.
Books are part of my existence, she said, and that's very different. That separates the grain from the chaff. Those who write because of habits, those who fall into the language traps of Wittgenstein and Lyotard, those who break the shackles and find a meaning for life, meaning of existence, only they can go through, as you will find in Summer Heat and at the breakfast table. Now, asking you another very interesting question, because when did you started writing seriously?
I don't know. If you get too serious, I don't think you can write. You
No,
know,
I mean-
you
I
have
mean,
to
you
be. I
decided.
understand what you're asking, and this is something I've been thinking about myself. Like, if you take this seriously too much, it stops the flow of your writing. But when I actually realize that I have a reader, and the reader is expecting to hear something that will help them to discover themselves, or that will help them to travel into a world, a fictive world, where they will find some understanding, some freedom, some transformation, then I felt like, okay, I am, and I enjoy doing this. So it's
Look at the words freedom and transformation.
Yes.
Very important. Key words. Key words.
I mean, what is our stories? What do they do, after all, right? If they're not bringing transformation or a deeper understanding of the self or a deeper understanding of the world, then why are we telling stories? Or the other way, why do we need to hear stories? We need to hear stories because they take us to a deeper part of ourselves which we are unaware of. So I hear a story and then I understand myself better, I understand you better, and that's how the transformation begins. So when I realize, okay, I think I have this responsibility, and at the same time, I really enjoy doing that, that's when I sit down to write my first novel. So that's the first series, sitting down and said, because somebody told me, you know, you're writing good blogs and we publish the blogs, nice, okay, but you have to sit down and write a novel. And I was like, me? How am I going to do it? And then they said, you can do it. Just sit down, start from a chapter 1, and it will come to you. And that was true.
And I was reading both Summer Heat and at the breakfast table, it was like crystals flowing differently. Yeah? The first person chapters are wonderful. Yeah. And Summer Heat begins with a very, very important title which shakes you out of your complacency at the bloody church.
At the bloody church, yes.
Like, the first chapter at the bloody church. Yeah, it shakes you.
Well, there is a place called Bloody Church
I know.
in Istanbul, and nobody knows why. Because Istanbul, like I said, had a Greek community. It was Constantinople, of course, and it had a huge Greek community, of course, during the Byzantine times, but even after Byzantine times, during the Ottoman Empire, it only got like smaller and smaller in the times of the modern Turkish Republic. And our ignorance as the residents of Istanbul of this Greek culture was always shocking to me. So we have these tons of churches, and one of them is called the Bloody Church. So I said, I'm going to put these unknown parts of the city into my book to wake people up to the alternative history that they have about their town.
Yes, yes. And you've always expressed, I would say, the agony of the contemporary predicament.
Yes.
Yes, in all your works. And the problem with others is that they don't want to come out of the comfort zone. If you look at the bestsellers, you will see how they are on the surface most of the time. And you said very, very important things like introspection, going deep, and this quest for understanding. Was it sort of triggered off by your visits to Thailand and your experience with yoga? Did it?
I don't know. We were yesterday. We were hearing
connecting.
about Ikigai. You know, what was my purpose in life? What are we drawn to? And I was always like studying sociology. I was always drawn to seeing things from another angle, like seeing what's underneath. Like I wasn't ever satisfied with the way I saw the surface. I wanted to go and look behind the surface or under the surface, or I asked the questions, what if I was not part of this? What if I wasn't a Turkish person, but a Greek person? What if I was an Indian person? Would I see the history the same? Would I hear the same story? Would I be still me? So those questions were with me from the very early onwards. But I think the reason why I traveled, the reason why I started yoga, the reason why I started writing, it's because always there's this pull in my heart, in my psyche that I want to,
This quest.
It's a quest, yes. I want to have like the flexibility of the mind to grasp all aspects of reality, if there is such thing.
Yeah, that's right, because we are living in a world of hyper-reality, we all
Yeah.
know, and I'm concentrating a lot on what Guy Debord says, la société du spectacle, the society of the spectacle, where pictures are more important than the man. We are all taking selfies, showing how terribly self-centered we are. And we can't survive like that. It's the worst example of our self-centeredness. And in such a situation, Defne is trying to break free and pierce the veil. And that you will find if you look at how it works. Now, I'm just asking you, because there's a quotation from Elif Shafak, and she says this book is fiercely intelligent, finely textured, and achingly beautiful. Very interesting, achingly beautiful. We're looking for such things. We're tired of surface literature. We're tired of prescriptions of happiness. These might sell 5 billion copies, but do they give us what we want? So now what is important is, in these thought-provoking times, I'm quoting Heidegger very often, the most thought-provoking thing is that we're still not thinking. And Defne has shown the way. But very interesting, Elif Shafak, I was thinking of her and asking her this question, has Elif Shafak influenced you? She's one of the prominent female writers, and did she influence you?
Yeah, and then you saw the cover of the book.
Now I see the coincidence of the quotation.
So Elif Shafak is a Turkish author and now one of the most popular Turkish authors, and she definitely doesn't write surface literature. She's courageous enough to go deep and explore things. She's my friend, but she started writing when she was very young. We are almost the same age, and I was in university, and her books were already in the markets. So she did influence me in more than many ways, but the most important is, I think, like making me believe that now I am at an age, and we were very young, and she was very young. I am at an age that I can write and be published, because here she is, like somebody who's same age with me, are having her books. That means I can write too. So that's a great encouragement for me. And later on, it was something very selfless what she did. When my books are started to be published in English, she was there, like writing blurbs, giving me comments, helping me to go to festivals like that. So it's, we are the two female authors whose works are becoming popular. Hers are popular, Mars are becoming popular in English. So I think I owe her a deep gratitude.
Yes. And there's another writer, Latif Tekin.
Latife.
Hey, how is
Yes.
she?
She's good. Latife Tekin is a storyteller, an amazing storyteller of more surrealist, like
Yes,
her
that's what I know,
fictive
yeah.
world is so
These
surreal.
are the female writers
Yes,
of Turkey.
Yes, she's and she holds a large space for, again, all authors, especially female authors in Turkey. She has a school for writing and, for festivals, for us being together, communicate, dialogue, changing ideas. So I love her books, but at the same time, she's our guru. She's there, all the previous generation, and holds the space for all of us to exist freely.
Yes. This is very interesting. She, Defne Suman, is connecting herself to her heritage, and Latif Tekin and Elif Shafak, and she, and Elif Shafak helping her out, though she's different. And all this makes it such an exciting self-discovery, in a way. Just asking you, you said that I like Summer Heat also very much.
Who?
Summer Heat.
Summer Heat, you're right. Okay,
Yeah.
my other book.
The other book, which is a masterpiece. And
And The Silence of Shehrazad?
yes, I haven't read it in English. It's in English.
It's in English, but it is also going to be available
Yes.
in Bengali
Oh,
soon.
I see.
Yes.
I see. The Silence of Shehrazad is very interesting title. Silence. We all
And
look
a
into
funny
silence.
thing about The Silence of Shehrazad, everybody familiar with Shehrazad
Yes,
Here,
because
the storyteller, the Shehrazad, you say it,
in
Shehrazad?
the Arabian Nights.
Yes, the Arabian Nights.
Yes.
So the book was published in 2021, and everybody says 1921, including you. It's so
2020, 2021.
yeah, it's unbelievable, and the story is taking place in 1921. So
Oh.
this is a very interesting.
Very
People who didn't read it say, and The Silence of Shehrazad, published in 1921, and I just say, yeah.
And 100 years before that, in 1820, the Agri-Horticultural Society was formed.
Yes, right?
And the year when Bidashagar was born, 1820. Now, to come back to your writings, you have been familiar with literary theories. Literary theories also, literary
Okay,
theories.
literary theories,
And Eastern philosophy,
Yes.
and your own tradition. And do you think that a literary text should finally reach a kind of philosophic level? If it doesn't, in my opinion, it's a failure in a way.
No, I don't think it's a failure, but it has. I think they good ones. Let's say what we discover as good literature. We read a book and we say, "Oh my God, it was so good," and then you take it to a friend, and the friend doesn't find it. Like, says, like, "I don't understand what you found in this book," because each book has its own dynamics, its own way of working in your own psyche. So there is no one good book description. You are, and also a different phase of your life. It works. All of a sudden, the dynamics are triggered, and then you realize something deep about your life question, your life purpose, what you were struggling with, and then I give the book to you, and it doesn't work for you at that moment. So, what is philosophy?
Yes.
Philosophy is philos.
Yes.
Sophia, loving the wisdom.
Yes.
Okay? So we all arrive
Yes.
the age of certain wisdom at different times. Therefore, if it's a good book, it has philosophia inside. But it's not, it shouldn't the aim. The aim should be telling a story.
That's right.
The aim is
Of
always transferring, like taking the reader to a world where they cannot go on their own. It's in a way I'm having all of you come into my sleep and join in my dream with me. That's what we do. And this is like an amazing tool in a way. We can do this.
Beautifully explained, yes, of course. You can't do it consciously, of course, but it raises itself unconsciously or consciously to another level. When you like a great novel, or say it's like poetry, a great film, it's like poetry or whatever. So we know that there is something else, the unsaid, which finally characterizes the work. And I found that quality in these books, because she keeps on repeating the word deep understanding. And when you reach a certain depth, I think it becomes some kind of perhaps a philosophy, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we need right now. Everything is so horizontal, so superficial. We go very fast from one post to the other, one place to the other. So, and we feel all the time unhappy, unfulfilled, looking for the next best thing to make me fulfilled, to feed me spiritually or psychologically. But then I don't like this. Is okay. The hunger is back. So the only way to satiate our hunger is to go deep. And maybe instead of reading 100 books, it's reading one book 100 times. I'm exaggerating, but like
I get the point.
A good literature piece, I believe, should be read at least 3 times. If it's speaking to you, you go back, because first time is like you're so hungry, you're eating. Your palate doesn't discriminate the different layers of taste. The second time you're a bit full, so now you can understand what the chef did. Oh, okay, so they added this. The third time, you know everything about it. Now you can see the design, how they designed this book, what like in the mind. I think that's going deep. That's at the end what will make us happy.
Yes, of course. Yeah, of course. That's part of the reader's quest.
Yes.
That's also part of the reader's
Yeah.
quest, and the two quests converge. And that's what we're looking for everywhere in the world today, in the world of books. Beyond the magic lantern of the book, we want to go beyond that. If we don't go beyond, we feel bad.
Yeah. I mean, you know how, like, it was, entering 2025, all these Instagram bookstagrams, they put how many books they read in 2024. So I saw, like, these Instagram posts, like, towers of books. I read, 250. Oh, I read 500, 800. And I was like, I read, like, not even 50. But, like, I probably, like, I don't know, 20. But every one of them stayed with me. They are, what's the word? Do you have a word like harman in Bengali? Harman is like, it's mixed with me. It became part of me. It became part of my memory. And I think a good reading, a satisfactory reading, or a deep way of living your life is to repeat certain things over and over until they are part of your own consciousness.
Beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Coming from an author who has broken free from the shackles and created her own space in a very, very original way. And these are very interesting words, which rarely uttered. It's become part of your existence, part of your psyche, part of your memory. And that is the goal. And you said that you've also tried. I remember a line in Stripes. Is it? What deep hole? No, I think it's some other.
Stripes.
Yes. What deep hole? What kind of hole? Dad, nightmare of deep holes.
Yes, the nightmare of deep holes.
Yes.
The Stripes.
Speaking of depth.
Yeah.
It's a short story, which
it's
you really
a short
write.
story, and it's amazing you picked that up, because Stripes is a short story, and the seed idea is shallowness. So I wanted to find metaphors that will carry the sense of shallowness versus depth in the reader's mind. Therefore, like, there is, I don't know, there's oil on the surface of the sea, so it's a metaphor for shallowness, right? There's no depth to it, but there's also a cat who is trying to find another cat behind a mirror, which is, I thought, a metaphor for depth. And then thinking about those things, slowly, I came up with this story. But the narrator keeps seeing these dreams that inside the sea there is something, a hole like this that pulls people into the depths. So she keeps telling us again and again, oh, I've seen that dream again and again. So it's like everything we spoke about, huh? The dark depth, loneliness, we are feeling, the hole we feel inside of ourselves, that is the hunger, that is not filling with all the superficial things we're doing one after another, with the hopes of that, okay, if I go to this workshop, if I go to that book, and if I go to that restaurant, if I buy these shoes, it will be filled. And we lived enough to realize that it's not filling. So that's the dream is about that dark hole in me. It's loneliness, in a way.
So I'm repeating the lines, which I picked up. I picked up well, the line.
You did, very good.
The line is from these lines from Stripes, a short story, which she rarely writes, but she wants to write more. I will come to that. What deep hole? What kind of hole, Dad? Nightmare of deep holes. And she's been speaking of deep knowledge, deep understanding. So all this converge and create a different kind of profundity. Now, you say that we are nearing, when can we finish? I think we started slightly late, Rupsha.
Okay.
Yes. I'm just asking you something. You were trying to write, you like poets, but you don't write poetry. But there is a lot of poetry in your work. It's a lot of poetry in your prose.
That's lovely. I find like poets are, for me, like they're like the gods of literature. It's so hard to become a...
Just one short question. How do you react to Orhan Pamuk?
I really admire Orhan Pamuk's work. I think he's genius.
He's a
I think
genius.
he really has a very high IQ, I believe, and he has like this most amazing designs of novels. So his novels I like to read.
The Name of the Rose. No,
Yes, I mean I actually saw Umberto Eco and Orhan Pamuk speak together in my university when I was a
Oh,
student. So
I see.
they're very similar in that way.
Oh, great,
Yeah.
great. And how do you respond to the world situation, which is very petrifying? We have Gaza, what's happening in Gaza. Turkish politics has not been the most peaceful, and Turkey has a very interesting geographical situation. It's connecting, I think, Asia and Europe. So it's a different situation, a predicament for a writer. And how to respond to these upheavals?
By getting depressed. Like how else can we react? Like it's very depressing what's happening to the world. But you know, in the Vedic texts and in the old like Upanishads and all the tantric works and everything talks about Kali Yuga. We are in Kali Yuga, the end of the world, so the destruction is inevitable. The human race is going to destruct itself. So I watch it, you know, sometimes I am completely involved, being depressed, and other times I move away, I detach myself and watch, okay, stupid humans, destroy yourself and all the living beings and this planet, and please disappear. So the rest can breathe.
But it gives us a moment of introspection,
Yeah.
and it helps the writings.
I think I really think we are the aliens. You know, we always have stories and movies like the alien comes and invades the planet, blah, blah. I really think we did it. It was us who invaded the planet. Like we're so not in harmony with the nature or the balance or the ecosystem or the animals, so we did it.
We've reached our biochemical limits.
Yeah.
And we end in a spirit of hope that she's creating a different kind of writing, trying to go deep. The word depth came many, many times in a conversation, and understanding, reflection, and that is transmuted in a very, very readable, poetic text. And much of it is, there is a value for silence, and no wonder her English novel is called The Silence of Shahrazade. And now, thank you again for being here.
Well,
and I'm sure people will read you.
Thank you for these wonderful questions.
And I think you are going to find something new beyond the surface. Beyond the surface. Because we are tired of surface literature, surface conversations. We want to go deep, to tear deep and find blood, real blood. And so we open out for questions, if any. So.
Your microphone is coming. Practicing my head move.
Thank you. Well, my name is V.K. Arora. As you can see, I'm a super senior citizen in India. Okay. Is it working? Is it working?
No.
Somebody is trying to suppress my voice.
Always.
Okay. Hello. Yeah. Is it better?
No, it's the same. It's the same.
Thank you. Yeah. I would like to compliment both of you for a very nice piece of conversation. It was a very beautiful, interesting piece of conversation coming from a professor of English to a writer. Both of you did brilliantly. And first of all, I think I have not read your books, but it gave me an insight into the writer's mind. And I'm sure you've done a great work in whatever words which you have put in the books which you have published. And similarly, you, Chinmoy, I think I would like to give a vote of thanks to you especially. You know, you did a great job. You see, you should have been a dramatist, not a professor. Yeah, and the kind of emotions you were showing in each and every sentence, you made a lot of things to come out of the writer, which perhaps otherwise would have been embedded in her mind. So the thing which I would like to ask you is that, you see, as a writer, you write a good book, but what is happening, I mean, I have read a lot of good books and I like to give it to my friends. Some of them are fascinated with those books, but after some time, you go give it to some other group of friends and they feel that it's just not right for him. And I try to give it to the children of today. These people have not been trained to read the books. Most of them are, tuned to reading the blogs on the mobile and this sort of a things. So somehow or other, I get a feeling that some people, the new generation, especially in India, is walking away from the books rather than getting into the habit of reading the books, which I think is a very important part of the growing up process. So what would you think about it? Because how to get these children involved into the habit of reading the books rather than just looking at it in a small précis of the thing, or maybe a small essay on the thing. Well, another thing is that you seem to have learned the yoga from Thailand, and thereafter you have come to India, and you seem to have a fairly good knowledge of the Indian culture, the Indian Vedas and all that. So rather than going to Thailand, why didn't you decide to come to the seat of learning?
I know this question was going to come.
Thank you.
So I start from the second question, because it always amuses me. I didn't go to Thailand to learn yoga. I went there to work as a volunteer teacher at a very small town with the underprivileged, some ethnic group underprivileged young people. But my yoga teachers happened to be there. They were living, and they were one Italian woman and one American man. So yoga is such a magical thing that whoever it captures from wherever you are in the world, if you have the love in your heart, it kind of becomes your home. And then, of course, I came to India. And I stayed in an ashram in Rishikesh for a while to learn more about the Vedas and the Tantras and the Puranas, and I studied all those things, and I continued studying even to this day. This was 20 years ago. So India is always as a very special part of my yoga sadhana. And the children not reading, it's something we heard when we were children also. I think this story goes on. I was born in 1974. In Turkey, television entered the houses around that time, first time. Before that, it was all cinema. And then they said the same thing. Oh, these kids are watching the TV all the time. How are they going to read? They're watching these the series and movies and terrible shows all the time. I was like glued to the TV because it was starting at 5 p.m. and I was going there 5 p.m. But the thing is, as a human race, our desire, our need to hear stories, it's permanent. It's embedded to us. It's in our DNA. So some people always find that need to be satisfied through books. Others will find other stories. And like we talked about, the shallow and the depth and the like if you find it in good literature, it fulfills you, you feel fulfilled, people are happier. So the young generation, some will be book readers, others will be phone watchers, like the way we used to be. Some of us were book readers, we were glued to TV, and we still are. So books will find always their readers. I believe in that. Yeah.
Thank you, but I think your question is very relevant, of course, at this point of crisis in civilization. In 74, the situation was different. Now that we have hyper-reality all over, everywhere, virtual images, virtual reality everywhere, and pictures are more important than the self, in the selfie. And people are veering out from books. It's true. This is another crisis. That was a crisis in 74. And then in the 70s, when she was growing up as a child. But now there are other problems with artificial intelligence looming large. And one day, as Harari said, any fine morning, the artificial intelligence will become conscious. And that will be the end of us what shall we do then? So it is a crisis, and I think how his question, very, very thoughtful observation, still has a very, very important relevance. But at the same time, what she says is also true. Books will always find its readers. Maybe lesser readers, stories will find readers, lesser readers, but they will continue. Maybe they will come back again in numbers.
Well, another thing, like now the technology, but the fact that we can listen to books, I think it increased a number of people who are becoming aware of it, because listening is something you can do on the traffic, when cleaning the house. You know, it's something I always dreamed. I wish I could do this and read a book at the same time. So I believe this increases the number of people who are becoming aware of the books or reading books. It's no longer just with your eyes. You can do it with your ears too.
The title of a beautiful book this is a conversation once again. Conversations are so important in this moment of isolation. There's a book which is a conversation between Umberto Eco, you must have read the book, with Jean-Claude Carrière, and the book is called This Is Not the End of the Book. So we can end with this hope that this is not the end of the book. It comes in other forms, as she points out.
Anyway, we have another question.
Another question.
Here, Mr.
Hello, my name is Joy. Thank you, Chinmoy, for the introduction, and thank you, Defne ma'am. My question is somewhat related with the last things you said about consciousness, right? And I mean, your book is all about giving a new consciousness to the world, which I think to a certain extent was related with your yoga practicing in Thailand. But there is this concept, you talked about reading a book many times, repeating it. And in India, we have this concept of patha, which is pathashala, which is reading it over and over and again. Right?
Pathashala.
Yeah, pathashala. Okay. It's reading a book over and over again. And that's what perennial wisdom is all about. Like Upanishads, you just don't read it one and keep it in the shelf. You go back to it again and again. And same with Bhagavad Gita and all the tantric texts and all that. Because it gives us new consciousness at every point of time, because we are from being to becoming, right? Yeah. So at this point of time, I mean, when you write consciously a book, do you also separate yourself as a writer of the book and also as a reader?
Yes.
That's
absolutely.
That's what I was saying.
It's a very good question. Like you have to move away from your ego, your ahamkara, like what you say you define as yourself, because if you don't do that, you cannot transfer this. I think as writers, or whoever is writing, whoever is a storyteller, is a transformer, not transformer, but also the one through whom the story transfers to the other people. So you're just a vehicle in a way. Yeah. So you have to accept yourself as a vehicle, and if you make it like an ego boosting machine, or the other way, or you get like stuck because you're so scared people will not like it, the same stuff, the other side, then the story will not flow from you to the other people. I think it was Ayn Rand, I'm not a fan of her, but she was the one who was saying, you are a writing machine now, sit down and write. And in this book there's a reference to her, because there's a ghostwriter, and ghostwriting is a very interesting thing I'm always thinking, because if you are a ghostwriter, meaning you're paid to write a story for somebody who is not able to write a story, you are actually really the transmitter of the story. Your name will not appear there, so maybe the story flows better. But yes, you have to be a reader. That's another thing. Yeah. But you can't be you when writing it. Yeah. You can't put you in the books. Yeah. It's a story that should come to you. It's like you can put your dreams, but definitely not your personal needs and desires.
I think one of the metaphors you mentioned, having everyone packed up in your dream where you are also there.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's like me taking all of you into my dreamland.
And that's an engagement.
And how much I am the creator of the dream. How can I say I created this dream? How can I be proud, like, my God, I have seen such a good dream that...
We have no control over dreams.
No, like I can't feel better about myself because I had a good dream, right? Yeah. Same thing, I think, for the books.
Thank you, ma'am.
It's a very, small thing that I would be really interested to know. You said you carry your friends along when you travel. Who is that one best friend you never let go?
Arundhati Roy.
Any
Always.
specific book?
The God of the small things.
Thank you.
Always with me. And I think Arundhati Roy, with the God of the small things, changed my life actually, because I was at the sociology department and didn't know what to do. And then I said to my friend, look at Arundhati Roy, like everything we try to do in the university, in the academia, she did it in the novel. And my friend said, do you think you can write a novel? Then don't stay at the academia, don't stay in the university, go write your novels. So that was my mind-opening moment that I left university and started writing books.
Very relevant question, thank you. 3 great questions so far, sir.
And a fourth.
Thanks to both of you, sir and ma'am, for this wonderful session. So my question to you, ma'am, this at the breakfast table, this novel, you said it is inspired by one short story by Ifer Tunç, that is Barden, and there is one beautiful quotation at the beginning of the book, and I'm just quoting it. The truth is like a shutter made of iron, and if you get caught underneath it, you will be crushed. That's the most tragic aspect of historiography. In attempting to open the shutter, there are those who are crushed beneath its weight, and no one writes their story down. So, in this book and also in The Silence of Scheherazade, truth and trauma are the two themes that I find in your book. So would you like to comment on these two things? In this post-truth world, this is one question. And another question is like, because title is one important thing about a book. And since the Silence of Scheherazade is your first English book, you said. So what was you really thinking when you decided upon that title? So these are the two questions, if you can throw some light on. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. The first, the quote that you have just read is about the journalists. And today, especially in today's world, we know how journalists, as they try to dig the truth, they have been simply killed. Like that's the Iron Curtain falling on them, and because they can dig out, and they have still means to let the humanity know about the truth, but then here, there, Turkey, everywhere, they are mostly silenced by being killed. So that was a reminder of, and because Burak Gökçe, one of the narrators, is a journalist, and he's trying to dig a truth about this family, which will not cause his life, of course, but I wanted to honor all the journalists who lose their voices and lives in their search for truth.
Excellent answer, excellent question.
The second part, The Silence of Scheherazade, there is a Scheherazade in the book. Her name is Scheherazade, and she cannot talk. So just imagine all women in the world who are silenced, and what happens to a silent Scheherazade is that she's doomed to die. So it's for us, for everyone to think, like when you silence the storyteller, the whole humanity will extinct and will go away.
So
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you both.
I'm finished.
Okay. Can we have a generous round of applause for the extremely enlightening session? So much to know and so little time, I completely understand. But we take this occasion to request you both to unveil the much awaited Bangla Anubad of the breakfast table. So would request you both to please join us here. And we witness yet another historic moment at the Coal India Kolkata Literary Meet. Please put your hands together. Defne Suman, Akoda Ak Deepe, প্রেম বিশ্বাসঘাতকতা এবং অতীতের সঙ্গে অবিচ্ছেদ্য বন্ধনের এক অনবদ্য কাহিনী. We are looking forward to explore because অনুবাদ অভিক মুখোপাধ্যায় আমার মনে হয় somebody the one who ensures that the book reaches the heart and touches the world deserves the mention. So thank you so very much to both of you for such an amazing session.
This was a surprise. I wasn't expecting this. Is like such a pleasant moment to see my. How do you read this? How do you read? All together. Let me hear you. Alone in the island. Okay. Akuda Akdibi. Yeah? Akuda Akdibi. Ah, once upon a time. Okay, so it will be available in March, my birthday in March also. Next year, I will sign your books. Thank you all. Thank you.